Welcome to Patriot Network TV. I'm Hank Giesecke, and today we are excited to have Clare Lopez of the Center for Security Policy with us today to discuss a recent article that she's written, Don't Let the Authorization for the Use of Military Force, which is being put forth by the administration, fulfill the Islamic State's end-time prophecy. The Center for Security Policy is a DC think tank that focuses on national security issues. So welcome, Clare. I'm glad that you're with us today.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be with you.
I think there's a continual question in people's mind is that what is motivating ISIS and all these people over here and the whole Islamic State thing. And your article is a great one in the sense that there's a lot that we don't understand about that. So maybe you could kind of take us through what you're pointing out here that we haven't thought of before.
Sure. Well, thank you for highlighting that article, which was posted at the Center for Security Policy.org website a couple of days ago. A proposed draft of an AUMF authorization for the use of military force that President Obama presented to Congress for their debate and consideration. And in the proposed language, the President proposes to override and to supersede the AUMF of 2002, which was the authorization for the initiation of Operation Iraqi Freedom, and that one then would go away. The new AUMF language also proposes that this time the use of military force be directed at the Islamic State. Of course, I don't know why, but they insist upon calling it ISIL, which is kind of meaningless, but the Islamic State is what the group calls itself, so that's what we call it, and proposes that this AUMF cover be limited to only 3 years, and that it involve U.S. use of force only in the countries that used to be called Iraq and Syria, of course now dismembered, not actually real entities anymore, and that it also limits the U.S. use of force to what they call no ground troops, is what they say. Also a ban on what they call offensive enduring operations, whatever that means exactly, we're not quite sure. Yeah. What they do authorize is U.S. military force for the purpose of rescue operations. I guess that would be primarily to rescue downed pilots in the bombing campaign going on against the Islamic State. Also the use of special forces to target selectively leadership figures of the Islamic State, and then also the use of the deployment of intelligence collection and also assistance for partner forces. And by those, I think they probably mean the Kurds, certainly in the area, but I guess that would also include Jordanians, and foolishly, in my opinion, it would also include Syrian forces that they insist are going to be, this time at least, really, truly only moderates. Yeah. That didn't work out so well last time, and unfortunately the general actually in charge of the effort in Jordan on the border with Syria, General Michael Nagata, who was in charge of training Syrian moderate rebel forces, he has now been put in charge of the entire overall Special Operations Command forces and effort in the region to train Syrian rebels. Unfortunately, the Jordanian officials had to tell us last time that the folks we wound up training turned out to be recruits for ISIS at that time, Islamic State in Iraq and al-Sham. The problem, of course, being that because the United States military has been literally purged of language that connects the motivating ideology of the Islamic State, yes, it is Islamic, which is Sharia, Islamic law, that is the motivating ideology, and refuses to connect that to Islamic terrorism. They're incapable of sorting out who's who among these potential rebel recruits for the training program. So those are just some of the background facts about the proposed new AUMF and some of my thoughts about it to begin with. We can talk some more, I guess, about the ideology of the Islamic State and what it hopes to do vis-a-vis forces of the West, which they would call crusader forces.
Well, and you made a good point in your article as well, and that is that starting back in 10, 11, and 12, is that the people who are basically sympathetic, if probably even worse than that, in the administration that are Muslim Brotherhood people have really changed the dialogue within the administration, like you say, such that they don't even admit the fact that we're up against Islam. And
right.
That creates a whole different, confusion among not only the public, but probably among the administration.
Sure. Well, as you point out there exactly, because of the purge inside the U.S. government, it was done under the supervision and at the urging of the Muslim Brotherhood appointees and advisors that this Barack Obama administration has surrounded itself with, knowingly. It's not by mistake, as in past administrations. It's deliberately seeking out Muslim brothers and their affiliates to be their advisors and appointees. Because of that, our military is just completely incapable of being able to sort out which fighters might be genuinely pro-Western, pro-United States, and instead they're left with questions like, do you belong to Al-Qaeda? Can I see your membership card, please? And when they say, well, no, I belong to Al-Qaeda. Oh, you must be good to go. Come on into the training camp. Have no ability to question them knowledgeably about their jihadist ideology or their allegiance and adherence to shariah, the animating ideology of the enemy.
Exactly. Well, and one of your points is excellent also, and that is that you point out that they really, and we're down to about a minute or so, but they really want to have troops come in there because that fulfills a prophecy that they're waiting for. Right.
I wanted to get to that, exactly. And when we look at this magazine document, it's called Dabik. Dabik is the name of a town in northern Syria where, according to the Islamic State and some of their spiritual advisors, Islamic advisors, that is the place where the end times battles will occur, what we would call Armageddon.
Right.
And they believe that there, the Western forces, which they call Crusaders or Romans sometimes, are going to face off against some forces which will defeat them in battle and thereby then usher in the end times and the victory of Islam over the world. And unfortunately, we are falling right into their trap. They're using the most horrific atrocities, beheadings and burnings of people alive, to get at our emotions, to prod us into sending ground forces over, which would be a huge mistake because at the basis of it, this is an intra-Islamic Sunni versus Shiite struggle that's been going on for the better part of 1,400 years. But without Western forces in the mix, in the battle, they can't have their end times. They're left with fighting each other, which of course they've done for a very long time. And the last point I'll make here is that in this battle back and forth, Shiite and Sunni, so far the only territory that they have either threatened or conquered belongs to two Iranian puppets, the puppet in Baghdad and the puppet in Damascus. And of course, the Iranian regime, Shiite, is every bit as much jihadist as the Islamics are too.
Wow.
So the Islamic State forces. And so, accepting to work with either one of those would be a mistake in my opinion.
Exactly. Well, Clare, I certainly appreciate your input on that today. Clare Lopez is the Vice President for Research and Analysis at the Center for Security Policy. And Clare, we really appreciate you being with us today and bringing us up to speed as to what's going on, because it's a constant, rapidly changing situation. So thank you so much. And we'll be back with you later.